Where did the name KO come from?
KO came from when I was young, man, and in junior high. I used to, I was a rapper. I've been rapping since I was 10 years old.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I was a freestyle fanatic, and I used to like battle all the time, and I would win money off of it. And then the kids started taking me into the high schools, and people betting money on me, and they started calling me KO. It was like I was quick on it. I was undefeated when it came to the battle end, and then it just clinged on to me. And it's like, you never know what he gonna hit you with next, and it just kind of grew on me for real. And then it went to I was even battling college kids.
Damn.
Cause I was the witty kid to where I would sit there and listen to everything they say and reverse it on them. When you young and your mind is just, and it was crazy, man. So it was, I stayed eating. I used to bet big money, man. Like, $50 a battle, that's a lot of money. If, me in the 6th, 7th grade is like, they could break me off a little $20 per win. I had to get it. So, I kind of like, people kind of just gave me that name, and it just stuck with me.
So what was your first, what was that moment you knew you wanted to do production, man? Was it when you got your first check, or when you heard your first joint on the radio? When was the moment when you knew, what, this production thing is definitely where I want to get involved with, man?
Probably when I always knew I wanted to do production.
Okay.
I just didn't know how I was gonna do it. And back then, like in Alabama, it was a small circle of artists, and it was only two main producers that was doing everything, and that was Dr. Fingers and Rick Rock, which is the Rick Rock now from the Bay Area.
Okay.
He used to live in Montgomery at a point in time. So they used to do all our beats. So I used to sit over their shoulders all the time nitpicking, why don't you try this? How about this? And then finally they were like, yo, why don't you learn how to do this yourself? And then, Fingers he was like, let me borrow his MPC. Like, I ain't gonna show you how to work it. I'm get it to you and let you figure it out. And that was the realest thing that ever could have got done. Because then, I took it and ran with it and learned what and made it happen.
So now that's your weapon of choice, huh?
Yeah, that's definitely my weapon of choice when it comes to getting this paper in. You know what I mean? So,
do you got a certain style when it comes to production, man, or do you really much sit down like with the artist and say, this direction I want us to go in, or is there a particular like format, I should say, that you got going on?
It's a formula of just a basic formula that I go by. Like simple things like I would never start a drum track first.
Okay.
Because you always I build my foundation, so I'll start with my melody or whatever it is, and then from there I'm able to make the drums where they perfectly fit and are accustomed to what I'm doing. But and all is in a formula or something I do for each artist. It's not one. I'll listen to the artist, and all I have to do is hear them one time, hear their vocal tone, hear their style, and my mind I come up with a certain kind of a chemistry for each artist. That's why like on the T.I. album, the records were so different. Why You Wanna was completely sounded different than Stand Up Guy. Stand Up, and then Undertaker was a completely different record. Hello, because it's a situation where when I work with an artist, it's like, okay, I'm gonna figure out a way to bring something out of you that you didn't even know you had. And I'm gonna do it, but it's still gonna be you. But I'm just gonna step it out and make sure that, and that's how a lot of my records stand out, on a lot of records. So same thing with the Ruben Stutter project. I had to create an edge on Ruben to where it was where kids, the younger generation would dig it.
Because he getting that big American Idol crowd there.
Right. So it was like, but then a lot of people was comparing him to Luther, and it was like, what, Ruben? I feel there's a way to do an edge to where it doesn't seem unbelievable, like, too much of a jump, but it fits. And I created a formula, and the two records on the Ruben record is like, they really stand out, So, that's just, that's how the best way I like to operate. I don't preset it, and a lot of times I'll usually, if I can hear the artist beforehand, I'll already sit down and come up with the chemistry and have the joint done before we meet. And when I let them hear it, it has never been a time that the artist didn't say, that's exactly what I wanted. And I consider that a blessing, So on that end, I'm, KO, I'm undefeated on that. So.
Well, looking back at your career, man, from where you started at and your humble beginnings and seeing where you're sitting at now, what you can say is the biggest transition through it all, man?
Well, I mean, real talk, my biggest transition is what I'm going through right now. You know, it's a transition of, you know, I mean, I was poor, you know, like anybody, you know, took nothing and turned it into something. But my biggest transition is what I'm experiencing right now, to where, okay, now you turned it into something, and you know, your fear beforehand was always, I don't want to be broke. But now you're walking into a new door, like going to a new school that you ain't never been in.
True.
I ain't never, you know, I ain't never know what it was for that not to be my problem anymore. And knowing that when that's not your problem anymore, it's going to be a slew of a whole new kind of problems that I haven't prepared myself for. You know what I mean? And I'm walking into this door at a fast pace.
More money, more problems, right?
Right, definitely. You know what I mean? And that's real talk. And I mean, you know, and that comes with the politics, because the more money you get, and the more your stock rises, the more the more everything is more critical. You know, people get a lot more, you know, it's not as cool and laid back anymore, because now you worth some money, and people, you know, when you're dealing with money, you know, you got, you know, it's just a lot of true colors come out in a lot of situations. You know what I mean? And it's just a situation where, I mean, it's tough. You know what I mean? It's tough. It's real tough, because now you can't make a mistake. Before, you can make a mistake and it's like, well, you know, we can bounce back and we make it happen. But a mistake now could be a $100,000 mistake. You know what I mean? Or your team, if your team isn't right and you ain't prepared them for it, because your team is a direct reflection of you.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? If somebody's out and they're with me and they go do something crazy, they're going to look at it like Khao did something crazy. You know, so it's one of those situations to where, in the midst of being prepared to walk in the door you walking in and deal with the snakes and other people who's coming at you in all different kinds of ways, you also gotta, you know, you gotta down there be flawless. You can't, you know, and you gotta keep your poker face. You can't, you know, you become a target, in other words. You know what I mean? And, you know, and it happens, you know. Even in my home city, it's been a lot of that, you know. I've had situations to where since day one, before I became, you know, Khao, the multi-platinum, whatever producer, it was always Khao chasing a dream. And then it went to that, to where then I did on the record with T.I., and it's like, okay, well, he did something on Urban Legend, but, you know, that was, he still don't know T.I. like that. That was luck. And then when I did the Jeezy record, and Paul Wall, and then they were like, well, he ain't got no single yet, you know what I mean? And then bam, why you want to come? And then I hear, well, he ain't make that beat, you know what I mean? So either way, you know, you really can't even feed into that side, but it's always going to be something, you know what I mean? I'm like, I guess after this, when this R. Kelly records come out and my album come out, I don't know, maybe they'll say I'm on crack, or I don't, you know, this is how it is, man, you know.